Hey, Lance, how are you? Not much. You know, we working, Lance. I'm not Chris. I just hacked his account. Hold on 1 second. Yep. Let's see if we got anybody else coming. Lance, where your friends at? Tell your friends to come on. We start at 6 o'clock. All right. Where the rest of our friends are. They're not in the waiting room. Oh, okay. They're probably leaving work. Okay. Makes a good point. Well, Lance, if you hang in there with me, I just told Chris and Anthony we're going to start no later than 6:10 because we definitely want to be mindful of everyone's time. And we've got some great partnership with Unicon, and I definitely do not want to belabor their time. And we have a slot for 6 to 7, so that gives us 50 minutes to hang out if we start at 6:10. So if you know anyone, let them know to get here. But you know, I got to do something special for you, Lance. You was on time. You was early, actually. I let you stay in the waiting room. And in the military, they used to say, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. That's what my drill sergeant told me. So kudos to you, Lance. Kudos to you. Oh, your granddad used to say that. Was he prior service, Lance? Okay. Was he Army, Air Force? You can unmute yourself and talk to me, Army. Oh, I'm an Army girl, so that's dope. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Good stuff. All right, we got 4 minutes, and after that, we're going to go ahead and start, if that's all right with you, Taylor, Davina, and Lance.
That works.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, China. How are you? Good. If you know anyone else that should be on, please spread the word. We are starting it actually right now. So still need a few more folks, but we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome Lance and China to the Job Readiness Workshop, Resume Writing 1. I have with me my great friends from Utica International. They are a recruiting firm, technical recruiting firm. Let me be specific. And maybe Miss Davina may want to do any introduction about Unicon, but they're with us and they're going to serve as one of our subject matter experts on the resume piece and interviewing and things that corporate or employers are looking for. So I have Mr. Taylor Ellis, who's going to be presenting today on what you need for the very top of your resume, your qualifications, and what information goes on there. So Davina, and I'll turn over to Davina. She is the I don't want to get your title wrong, Davina. It's in the slide deck, though. I promise. It's in the slide deck. But if you want to introduce a little bit about Unicon, just so I don't mess it up.
Sure. Utica International Inc. We're located here in Columbus, Ohio. We are excited about this opportunity to speak with the students in the Columbus, Ohio area. We've been in business now for a little over 31 years. We are an IT staffing and project management company. And we are, again, like I said, we're looking forward to work with you. Taylor is one of our technical recruiters, and I am excited for him to share today some of his wisdom and knowledge of resume writing. So I will turn it over to Taylor to get started.
Well, we got a couple more things. So here's our welcome. We just did that. We're going to meet the team. We've got an HR funny moment because we don't want you to be bored. We do have a whiteboard activity before we jump into instruction, a poll question, some more instruction, which that's going to be Taylor right there. Follow up with your handouts, questions, and comments because there is a little bit of homework for you guys. And those that are watching the recording, welcome. Hopefully this will be helpful to you all. You can always reach out to your coach for additional questions or comments. I know my name says Chris Williams, but I am not. I just technically borrowed his account for today. So I am Miss Latoya Daldo Berger. So we did our welcome. Here's a couple things I want you to keep in mind while we're meeting. So I know this is something new, maybe for some of you, but I need you to be on time. Make sure you're in a quiet space. Be prepared. Be attentive. Be active. Be polite. Turn your camera on. So Lens in China, can I see your face, please? Please, please, please. And connect in the chat. It's one thing when you're having events like this, it's good to see the lovely faces of the people you're talking to. So if you do not mind, we are asking that you do turn your cameras on. But these are some things to keep in mind as we're doing that. It's kind of a disservice to these folks that are coming out to share with you and empower you and pour into you to not have your camera on so we can see you all. So we are asking that you turn your camera on. If there's a particular reason, you can definitely private message me separately, but that is what we're asking for when we do these the job readiness training for the next couple of weeks. All right. So, you know, the lead the way team, you know, your coach, the lead coach, those folks. I'm down here looking a little different than I am today, but that's okay. And then here's our Unicon team. Hey, Lance, listen, I could put a face with a name. I feel special. I feel special. It's good to see you, sir. All right, so here is the Unicon team. So Associate Director of Sourcing Department. I got your title right now, Davina. And then we have Mr. Taylor here, who's our Senior Technical Recruiter. And I think we're going to get to meet the rest of the team too throughout this training. So thank you, Unicon. Let's give it up for our sponsor who's taking the time to put those love in the chat. Let me see you clap for them because they are amazing and they've taken the time to hang out with us. So now I'm going to give you a quick HR funny moment. And I want you to sit back and check out this video that I'm going to play for you. I think you'll like it. 1 second. Let me put my screen here. And now this first particular word isn't the nicest, but this is what people really think. Oh, we've got someone else coming in. So here's our HR funny moment, and we're going to have this every class just to make it good. Again, if you're just joining, we do need to see your face, Miss China. If you could please turn on your camera, we greatly appreciate it. All right, and here we go.
I'm ambitious, opinionated, and I love a good debate. I'm a dick.
I would love to be part of your in-horse design team. I'm just too darn to spell check.
Your team needs me. My parents think I'm spectacular. My ability to think outside the box, create synergy amongst my team, as well as leverage my core competency has been a real game changer for me. Blah, 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 blah.
I'm an ideas guy. I don't work.
Please find my resume attached. There's nothing attached. I would have attached it, but Netflix is a thing?
Job experience. Baker, Roots Bakery, December 2014 to January 2015. Paralegal, Owens & Owens LLC, March 2015 to July 2015. I get fired a lot.
Job experience. HR manager, 2007 to 10. Assistant to the HR director, 2015 to present. And those years in between, well, just a big pool of ayahuasca vomit.
Awards and achievements. Prom queen. I peaked in high school.
Skills? Word processing. I also know how to chew my own food.
References blank. Everyone hates me. You will too.
References. Teresa Brown. At the same number as mine. That's me, but in a British accent. Oh, pip, pip, cheerio. Kibbles and bits.
Interests. Member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Lock your office door. Not that it will help you.
All right, so that was a little bit humor that I'm pretty sure our lovely friends at Unicon, as myself as a
Still
former
working at
HR
home?
specialist, have experienced with getting resumes that are incomplete. So we try to give you a funny, but these things really do happen where it says resume attached, there's no resume, or in your case, you're a youth, so prom queen is not a bad thing. But for someone who's graduated like college or something, it's not necessarily the best option for you. So we'll get back into the presentation. And I thought that'd be pretty cool just to kind of have a funny moment for you guys. So hopefully those that are watching the video. So now we're going to do a quick whiteboard activity. And what we want to know is definitely what you want to get out of the class. So I'm going to share and have you just type it on the screen for me. I'm going to clear this. And if you just type on the screen, use the text option, what it is you want to get out of job readiness. There's several things that we're going to cover, but if there's something particular, you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait to get here. I got so many questions. I'm about to graduate high school or I have another year. I want to be prepared. This will definitely give us some other things to kind of look at as we have the rest of the material ready, but if we can tweak it to meet your needs. So just type something, you could put nothing, but if those that are on the line could participate, we appreciate it. So we have 3 folks on, I think China, Divine, and Lance. So if you guys could type something in there for me, I appreciate it. You should be able to hit the text option and type. Davina. So I'll wait.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm going to erase it. All right, Lance, China, or Divine, you guys have anything?
Have anything about what?
So the question was for the whiteboard, you would just type on the whiteboard what things that you would like to learn or anything that you're wanting to know about resume writing, employment, seeking employment, job searching, those things. We just wanted to make sure we had an interactive activity for you so you're just not here listening to someone giving you instruction, if that's helpful. No one? Okay. Well, we will stop sharing that and go back to the presentation here. So we did our whiteboard activity. So let's talk about resume writing tips. And we want to talk about why resumes are important, what types of resumes there are, the resume heading and qualification summary, and that's where Mr. Taylor's going to come in and get us together. Then we're going to talk about gathering your work history and then finding buzzwords, keywords, and there's a searchable handout that I'll be uploading to the presentation, to the chat room for you to download, okay? So our learning objectives for today is to understand the value in developing a comprehensive resume, introduce techniques in gathering work history in chronological order, keyword chronological. Assist participants with searchable words to be used in all ATS, which is an applicant tracking systems, and how to use critical thinking skills for better results when applying buzzwords to your resume. So those are some things that are going to happen. So why are resumes important? Resumes, and I'm not going to read this, but they pretty much give a overall overview of who you are as an individual. So your historical snapshot of your experience, which could include volunteering, serving on a team. If with by a show of hands or in the chat, how many of you all completed the job applicant profile sheet from last week? You can raise your hand or type something in the chat.
Was that the one for the Google Doc?
Yes, it was, Mr. Lance.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So those things are in there as well, but also you want to review your resume, and it gives them a quick snapshot, so it shouldn't be too long. And then they should also be able to understand what you've done, your length of experience, which is huge. Like if you saw that one person on that HR funny video where it was from 2015 to present, there was no month or month in front of that. So what part of 2015 and present, what was the date? And then the one before that was from 2010 to 2011. Well, was that the whole year? Was it January to December? Or was it really, you know what I mean? So those kind of things are important to make sure we can understand the length of your experience. And I'm gonna fly through here. So there's a breakdown here again. We're going to provide a structured written summary for your education, present your past accomplishments, spark an interest with the employer, and for you to obtain an interview. So these are all reasons why your resume is very important. There are different types of resumes, and I think I covered that here soon, but I come from the federal side. They are corporate. So Davina and I, it's funny when we talk about things, like what I would want from an IT specialist versus what Unicon would want to see on the resume. The federal government, they pretty much want your blood sample in so many words. So 5 pages of resume is common on the federal government side, but the state and the like corporate, where Unicon comes in, that would, I'm pretty sure, Davina and Taylor, you can unmute yourself and have the dialogue with me if you like. That is like probably a complete turnoff if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it could be an excessive.
Okay. And like I said, the federal government, they're like, let me get your thumbprints, your blood sample. You can turn all that in the first day. But in real life, it just depends on who you're what job sector you're interested in, and then what type of job or who the company, i.e. the federal government versus corporate. So Taylor, you unmuted. Was you going to share something? I don't want to stop you.
I was just gonna agree with Davina. Yeah, sometimes it can be very, very excessive to try and go through all of that. So obviously trying to keep it as condensed as possible and hit on all of the major important things that you want to get across. But yes, I would agree.
Right. So types of resumes, we've already covered that. So it's time for your first poll question. So hopefully you were paying attention. So here you go. Your poll question, you should see it. Why are resumes important? Select the best answer. And I'll give you a little music to go with it. All right, we got one answer. Thank you. 2, okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to end the poll, and let's see, we're going to share the results really quick. So 2 of you thought it was G, and 1 person thought it was H. So let's go through these answers. A, to help you get a job. Well, that's true, but that's not what necessarily we talked about. Present ideas about you. That's kind of vague. Present your past accomplishments, education, and skills to your employer. That is 1. To spark interest with the employer, that's another. To assist you with obtaining an interview. That is right. So if you selected H, good job. That's the one. That's the one. All right. So that was our poll question. And now it is time for us to talk about resume heading and qualification summary. So make sure you have your pen and paper. For Mr. Taylor Ellis, I'm going to turn it over to him and mute my line. So thank you, Taylor, for joining us. And we are so excited to hear what you have to share with us tonight.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. So I'm going to talk about kind of some basic things. Hopefully, if I get too off track here, Latoya, feel free to reel me back in here so I don't get ahead of myself. So we're going to talk a little bit just about, what you want to put at the top of your resume, but then also going under that, typically you'll have like a qualification summary. So you can go ahead, Latoya, if you want to go to the next slide. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. So typically with the resume heading, things you want to include are your name, your contact information. Make sure that you have your contact information. So if you have an email, put it. If not, make sure your phone number is there. That's one big thing that I kind of run across quite often, actually. And some of that I think is just the type of people recruit sometimes necessarily, they know they're going to be reached out by a bunch of recruiters. So they kind of don't put their email or phone number out there right away. So make sure you have that information on there so that the employer can reach out to you, email you, give you a phone call. Another thing is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is basically like a job profile. Basically consider it like a Facebook for employment. I love when candidates put their LinkedIn profile with their resume. I think it's good to put it at the top because sometimes if you put it at the bottom, it can kind of get mixed in the shuffle and kind of overlooked. But a great thing about that is that me as a recruiter, I can go in there and I can go to your LinkedIn profile. I can see your places of employment, if people have kind of endorsed you or things like that, things that you've done in your past, organizations that you've been in. And it helps me to get a better idea of who you are as a candidate. Now, the big thing about that is to make sure that whatever you have on your resume reflects what you have on LinkedIn, because that can be another bugaboo is, okay, you have so-and-so on your employment on your resume, but it's different in your LinkedIn. I'll immediately cross you off because then it's either you're a false candidate or one of those things where maybe you're just not paying attention enough to update your LinkedIn or make sure your resume and your LinkedIn kind of have the same information on it. Now, I don't have necessarily a preference, and maybe Davina can talk to this a little bit if she wants to chime in, but I don't necessarily have a preference on the format in which your name and your email kind of come across. I've seen it in different ways. The biggest thing is just to make sure it looks clean and neat. So, I mean, the biggest thing is obviously a lot of resumes that I see, their name is the biggest part. But then depending on where, some people will just list their phone number, their email, and then if they have a LinkedIn profile, or they'll do it and they'll stack it across, right? I've seen it in many different ways. I don't necessarily have a preference as long as it looks clean and neat. I don't necessarily critique that as much, as long as that you have that information there, your email, phone number, and like I said, if you do have a LinkedIn profile, that's huge as well. And if you don't, I would encourage you. I know almost all kids nowadays are on the laptops, especially nowadays with COVID. You have access. If you have access to the internet, I would highly encourage you to get a LinkedIn profile and start building that as you start getting experience. Latoya, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So the next things we'll talk about is a qualification summary. So typically after you have your header or whatever with your name and your contact information, you'll go through and kind of highlight your major accomplishments or jobs and duties that you feel like are important to whatever job that you're trying to get. So make sure in those qualification summaries that you hit on all your main responsibilities and duties. Make sure you can speak to those. So make sure you're not just putting whatever down, false information, things like that, because they will ask you in an interview to speak to those. And that goes the same with your bullet points and your duties and responsibilities. And I know some other Unicon recruiters will get into that in later presentations, so I won't get ahead of myself. But make sure you can speak to those, because you will be asked about those. Your qualification summaries can change based on the position you're applying for. So like experience, or an example for me at least is, okay, so I come from a coaching background, and I've coached and I still continue to coach, but I also held a financial job before as a financial analyst. Now, if I'm going to apply for another financial analyst position, I may not put my coaching experience and things that I did when I'm in coaching. All right. And I'm probably only going to include the things that I've done recruiting wise that pertain to that specific job. So you kind of want to highlight the areas in your qualification summaries that have to do with the job that you're kind of applying to. Okay, so make sure they kind of align. And I know Latoya mentioned keywords, things like that. Also, make sure you cater to like I said, cater the summary. I already hit that bullet point. Cater the summary to the position you're applying for. All right, and that is those keywords. So like if you were to look at my resume, has gone through quite a few different shifts. One is I was starting off at you guys, so it was basically just putting anything that I have on there. And that's another thing I wanted to add. If you have any volunteering experience, organizations that you've been in, things like that, if you've held a position in an organization, make sure you include those things, especially at your guys' age, just because obviously I've been there before and you don't have a lot to put on there. You're like, well, I've only had a job or two, right? So there's not a whole lot of meat. So make sure you include those different things that you've done. All right, some extracurricular activities, things like that, and maybe list some accomplishments. But I think volunteering in organizations, things that you've done, hitting on those as well will be beneficial, because I know sometimes, especially at that age, at a younger age, of where you feel like you don't have a whole lot, and you're just kind of putting in fluff. And when we're typically looking at resumes, we don't necessarily want the fluff. We want the meat of stuff. We just want to get right to the point. Exactly what did you do? How'd you do it? How'd you go about it? Things like that. So those are kind of the big things that I look for, at least when it comes to a resume heading, qualification summary. Keywords is a big thing for me, especially when I'm searching for resumes. It's a fast way, typically as a recruiter, it's a fast way to go through and work your way through resumes, is looking for keywords. So make sure, especially whatever position you're applying to, cater your words and make sure you're aware of how you use your words when you're doing your resume for a certain position. And that's kind of all I have, guys. It's kind of basic stuff, just kind of getting into the start of things. I know the other presentations will have a little more meat to them. But feel free, if you guys have any questions, shoot them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Listen, you guys have a wealth of knowledge here with you tonight. I know we may not have a lot of folks on, and those that are catching the video, make sure if you do have questions, reach out to your coach. Let's give it up for Taylor. If you could put some love in the chat or use your reactions or emotions. I think you did a great job, Taylor, breaking it down. And so you guys will see, so we don't want you to get overwhelmed. So every week we're basically taking the resume a chunk at a time. So this may have seemed small, but it's important that you understand that much at first. So are there any questions for Mr. Taylor or me as so far?
Oh, I have one.
Okay, Mr. Lance.
Go ahead.
So COVID has started. Have you seen like more of a rise in like virtual interviews? And like if so, what's like the etiquette for that? Like, should you like be all dressed up or whatever, even if it's a virtual interview? Or have you seen other companies say anything about that yet?
Yeah, I'll hit on that. So, so like right now for the company that I mainly recruit for is Nationwide. They're obviously, with everything kind of going on, they're strictly doing interviews virtually. And typically too, so a lot of times if you're looking say you're not necessarily looking for a position in Columbus, Ohio, and this is bearing COVID not going on. Sometimes you won't need to make the trip. They're not going to make you do that. Typically, they'll do a virtual interview to start with. A big thing for this is definitely make sure you're dressed to impress, just like you would at an in-person interview. You want to look sharp. I mean, that's a big thing because that's your first impression, basically, you know. Another thing is this is very hard, and sometimes I catch myself doing this, and I've been on video for a while now, right? Is to make sure you have eye contact, and that's staring into a camera. I know, as difficult as that sounds, and it takes some time, it's staring into the camera and being focused on that, because that's what they're kind of looking at. It's almost like the eye contact. It's the same thing when you're in person. You want to be able to communicate with someone who's making eye contact with you, not kind of looking all around, you know. But those are big. Another thing is to make sure that you're in an environment that you know is going to be quiet. You know you're not going to get interrupted, but you have good internet in that position and stuff like that. So there's a couple different boxes to check, especially even with virtual interviews. But yes, that is the main way of interviewing I've seen, at least with our company and nationwide that I recruit for specifically. I know Davina could probably speak on this a little more, just because I know we have a couple other clients that we work with, and I'm pretty sure they've been doing virtual. But yeah, those are some of the key things that I think that are important. And Davina, feel free to add anything or chime in.
No, I think that you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly the bullets that you need. I mean, if you're going to have a virtual interview with a client, it's the same energy that you would do if you're going to face. Same exact. So very good, Taylor. That's it.
And Lance, great question, because that is I think that's week 4 or 5 of the Job Readiness Workshop series. We'll be covering that. So we're going to actually talk about attire, talk about the different types of interviews, the one-on-ones, the virtual, the panels where you have 3 or 4 people. So yeah, we're going to cover that. And so Taylor just took care of that little sneak peek for us. So if there are no more questions, let's talk about gathering your work history. And I'm going to stop sharing because I have a handout for you all that I'm going to update or upload inside the chat. And for those of you that are watching, you'll be able to get a copy of the work history handout, as well as the homework and the keywords. You'll be able to get those. 1 second. So I did the next step is for you guys to start gathering your work history. So Mr. Taylor has already covered the qualification summary and the top heading part. So as we prep for the next session, which is really breaking down your work history, i.e. volunteer, being on a team, the various clubs you may have served, because you may not have had a job yet, especially if this was, you just turned 16 and you may didn't start working at 14 and a half. So you're going to wait till you're 16 and then COVID hit. So you probably didn't get a chance to get a job, but you may have served on student council. You may have was a part of sports prior to COVID. You may have been in the band. You could have been a part of different clubs, whether it's the Glee Club or the Tech Club, or even the social media club. If you're the newsletter at your school, those things count as experience. So at least for you as a youth employee, you want to be able to pull out those leadership things. So I'm going to upload these files really quick. And then that way you'll be able to see them. And then I'm going to share my screen, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got those. Let me open this really quick. My computer I apologize, 1 second. So I even put an example in the document for you, like of a student council president, the organization or location, that kind of thing. So that way you could see that. Okay. 1 second. This is moving mighty slow. And again, for those that are watching the video, you're not going to miss out on anything. We're going to make sure these files are given to your coaches or to the program manager. So if you need the access to go back and look at this, you can. I guess it only gives me one. So let me know if you can see that, Lance and China. I just uploaded the homework, which is this job readiness handout that I was speaking of. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the keywords in here for you as well. That way we have those already ready to go. My thing is not. Let me be great. Here we go. It was now. Okay. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. It's there we go. Can everybody see it okay? So far, we hope you found the workshop helpful, but here's an example on gathering your information. And don't worry about the job summary per se. We're more so concerned about you getting those duties in. But this is a sample or an example for like student council president that I threw in here for you all to look at and for you to gather the duties. Now, we are going to dive into this a little bit more, but I at least want you to start gathering your work history, because we don't want these sessions just to be a conversation, like a lecture. We want you to bring your stuff to the meeting and we're going to work through it together. That is the purpose of the job readiness workshops, okay? So when you come back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your camera on, ready to work, we'll be going over this particular document. So I already set it up for you to do it for 3 of the jobs, at least 3. At some point you had to volunteer. At some point you probably played a sport. And at some point you served somewhere, whether it was church, the library, a nonprofit, put that in there. Like I said, don't worry about the details per se. Even if it's just record keeping or those type of things, you can pull that up there. So any questions on gathering your work history? And was everyone able to download the files? Just give me a thumbs up if you can just do it in the camera if your camera's on. Are you able to download it okay, Lance in China?
I'm sorry, where'd you send that?
It's in the chat. So if you go to the chat, you could see the 2 files are uploaded there.
Oh,
you see them there?
I don't think it popped up yet.
Huh. It shows on my end. Yep, it says for everyone. You don't see anything? They're both there. Taylor or Davina, you don't see it. Shows it's there.
No, we don't see it in the chat.
And there was no notification that I don't know then. They both
Yeah,
show there.
I see it. I see it in the chat.
Oh, do you?
Okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
let me see.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. I just have to try and save it.
Okay. I'm uploading it again. Thanks, China, for letting me know. But what I'll do is I'll make sure I get this over to your coaches for you to have it. But this particular document here is available in a Word document. I tried to put it in the chat for us for you to download. That's the only way to upload files, and it's available to everyone. But I apologize if you don't see it in the chat. It shows successful for me, and Taylor sees it too, but that's okay. No worries. So that is our job readiness one. And then we'll go ahead and look at the your the keywords. So this will be helpful as you begin to develop your resume. There's some keywords that you want to consider. So this is an exhaustive list. I'll be honest with you. So don't feel like you have to incorporate all, it's like 8 to 10 pages of them. Don't feel you need to do that, but you can. But here's an example, and I'll be getting this sent over to your coaches then, since you guys were unable to download. So here's just like a long exhaustive list of them. Okay. And as we're working through it, we're going to be working together alongside with Unicon to get this done. But these are readily available and we'll be getting over to your coaches. Are there any questions about gathering your work, your history, whether it's volunteering, I shouldn't say your job history, but any of your things that you've done in the past, whether it's been working with your on a team or anything like that. Any questions? No? And Lance, I did see your statement about the other. So we're now on questions. We're about done. If you have questions, you can place them in the chat or feel free to unmute your line at any time because we want to have that dialogue. I know we're quiet the first day. So hopefully by next week, you guys kind of work through the little homework just to kind of get your stuff together because, you know, these steps are important as you prepare for the Wexpo, which will get you in front of the various internship opportunities that Lead the Way Learning Academy have for you. So it's very, very important that you follow these steps each week and not get behind. And if you have questions, definitely reach out. So we definitely want to thank our sponsor, Unicon again, Taylor and Davina and the entire Unicon team for taking the time out to empower and pour into the youth at Lead the Way Learning Academy. We do not take it lightly. And just so you guys know, they're volunteering their time, guys. Like that's dope, right? Like that they took the time out in the evening from their families to hang out with us. So we don't take it lightly, Taylor and Davina, for you guys hanging out with us. Again, thank you guys for joining us. I won't hold you all unless you have something. And Taylor, feel free if you have something to share.
Oh, I was just going to say no problem and thank you guys. And then I was going to hit on one thing. I did see Lance's question earlier, and I'll give him. I'm a younger guy, but I'll give you a little bit of advice on finding a career you'd be happy with for life. Typically find something that you're passionate about. So for me, it's working with people and helping people. So I get to help people find jobs and work with them every day. And I'll be honest with you, man, typically the first job or two you get isn't going to be the job that you want for your whole life, right? So it's okay to move around a little bit until you find something you're truly passionate about. So that's just my little bit of side 2 cents, I guess. I just saw his comment earlier.
Yeah. And I was definitely going to make sure we probably incorporate something like that. So for today, we do have a feedback form and we would love for you all to complete. We do have a couple giveaways. If you didn't do the job applicant profile sheet, I also have that link. It's also in the chat. Please let me know if you are getting my links.
I see that one, Latoya. I see that one.
Okay, perfect. And then there's a job applicant profile sheet. So one thing we're doing is giving away. So technically the first person that filled out the job applicant profile sheet was Jayla, and she's not here. So, but we do have a $25 gift card for her. So it's important that you do your homework. It's important you fill out these forms because there are some amazing dope giveaways. They're pop-ups. I'm not telling you when. You just have to show up. Be here, be engaged, be attentive, camera on, so we can work. All right. Thank you guys so much, Lance and China, for hanging out. Hopefully you guys had a good time. If y'all have any questions, feel free to reach out to your coaches, and I'll make sure you get those 2 handouts. Okay.
Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too. All right.
Thank
bye.
you guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it, Taylor. I appreciate the advice. Sure.
No problem, man. Anytime. You guys have a good rest of your day.
Cool.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.